tonight. The former coronavirus testing czar for the Trump administration says Dr. Anthony Fauci is not being honest about the origins of the coronavirus. A member of the same coronavirus team, Admiral Brett Grior, made that accusation today here on Fox. This charge comes as we learn new details on how the theory that the coronavirus came from a Chinese lab generated such virulent opposition in the early days of the pandemic that, in fact, some officials tried to shut that investigation down. State Department correspondent Rich Edson reports tonight, even though much of the opposition to the lab leak theory is fading, there are still plenty of questions to be answered. Good evening, Rich.
Good evening, Brett. And former officials tell Fox News there was intense debate last year over exploring whether this pandemic began in a Wuhan research lab. That argument is still ongoing, especially over assessments from last year, including from Dr. Anthony Fauci, that the data indicated that the virus came from nature.
That statement was completely wrong. It was obvious to be antagonistic to President Trump and to the administration.
A Chinese government research lab studying bat coronaviruses in the same city as the first reported outbreak of COVID-19. And now charges that U.S. government officials tried blocking efforts to examine whether the virus leaked from the Wuhan Institute of Virology.
Sometimes the simplest explanation is that we do have lab leaks. They've happened multiple times. I really think data like people getting ill in November from the laboratory, if that proves true, that coincides exactly when we know this virus hit China.
Vanity Fair reports a memo from Thomas Donano, a former State Department acting assistant secretary, accusing other officials at State of warning his bureau not to pursue an investigation into the origins of COVID-19 because it would, quote, open a can of worms. Two former U.S. officials tell Fox there was an effort among some at the department to resist an investigation into a potential lab leak. Another official says there was interest in making sure the science was accurate. Vanity Fair also reports former CDC Director Robert Redfield claims he received death threats from fellow scientists for telling CNN he believed the virus originated in a lab. Following the release of thousands of his emails, Dr. Anthony Fauci says the theory of a lab leak needs more examination.
We all felt, and still do actually, Willie, that it is more likely to be a natural jumping of species from an animal reservoir to a human. But the fact that it could have been something else clearly was there. It was low on the list of what we thought the likelihood was.
The White House press secretary says she's not aware of the president receiving a briefing on Fauci's emails.
The president and the administration feel that Dr. Fauci has played an incredible role in getting the pandemic under control.
All these emails that you're seeing now are entirely consistent as well with what the propaganda machine inside of China was pressing and what the World Health Organization was pressing as well.
The number 2 House Republican, Steve Scalise, is calling for a COVID-19 hearing on the House side. He says he also wants to see the unredacted versions of the recently released Fauci emails. Brett?
Rich Edson, live.